This is the Friday, March 25th, 2016 version of the Market Plus segment. Joining us now is Don Roose. Don, welcome back.
Thank you, Mike.
We've got a lot of great questions here for you from our Facebook and Twitter followers. And I wanted to start it off with Tim in Crookston, Minnesota. He says, like the Michigan State basketball team, old crop beans have broken my bracket. Should I sell my remaining bushels on this rally? What do you think?
Well, I think when you look at it from where you were just a month ago, we've had a substantial rally. We've got a market that's overbought. The funds are sitting long over 50,000 contracts. So most definitely, I think you're an overachiever in beans between 9 and 9.20 on May soybeans, particularly ahead of the acres and stocks report. It just makes sense. If you still want to continue the ownership, do some risk management with some call options.
And how far out would you be buying calls if you're making cash sales today?
And that's a good question. I think I'd give myself a chance to go all the way through the summer, and I'd buy September calls at the money and then sell about 60 to 80 cents over the money.
Okay. Now, we did not get a chance to discuss the cotton market on the program this week. We saw a 50-cent move to the upside. Has cotton found a bottom in here?
Well, the cotton market is very much like the soybean market. I mean, it's oversupplied. The Chinese really control the market overhead. They're trying to liquidate some stocks, so their demand is a little bit weak. But the cotton market around 55 cents, you know, it seems like it found some support here, maybe get a little bit of a rally. Acres are probably going to be down on the report that we're going to have out on the 31st. But, you know, still your downside going into the fall is still there, probably below 50 cents.
Even with all of this rainfall in the Delta, we're just not a whole lot of hope that we're going to see acres decimated on the 31st?
I think it comes more from the profitability on the cotton than anything else. I think those are already pretty well set just from, you know, you can plant other things, aren't as costly, get a better chance for some profitability.
Okay. We've got a question here from Jay in Paulina, Iowa. Jay is wondering, if a guy is sitting with bins full of old crop corn yet, what's the best course of action? When do we bail on it?
Well, I think, you know, you could take a chance that the funds are big shorts. We could have some weather problems here that push us to the upside. That's possible when they're sitting like this. But I tell you, if you want to be careful ahead of the acres and stocks report, if you get a negative report there, you probably lost your opportunity and you're going to have to wait again. Probably what you should do with where the basis is isn't tremendous, but probably gets weaker. I would probably sell going into the report if we get a bounce, and then re-own it with some September calls, and it's probably a cheaper way to maintain ownership.
And would you do full calls, or would you look at short-dated options?
You know, there's an argument going both ways on those, but I like the full ones because I think you get what you pay for. It gives you more of an opportunity further out, and that's where I would be.
Okay. Now, former farm boy in central Iowa is wondering something we touched briefly on the program. He's asking what's going to happen with the Brazilian real, and he's asking about the new pro-reform government. If the government changes down there, what should we anticipate going forward?
Well, of course, you know, they've got a lot of chaos down there, and so that's the real issue. The producers right now in Brazil are really using their grain for the most part as a currency because they're really not sure. The currency's weakened back substantially, and that's been an issue, so they back where they're not selling aggressively. But overall, I think that you know, a lot of soybeans in South America, and rallies are probably still meant to be sold.
Okay. Now, our final question from our Twitter sphere is from Schwelke, and I apologize, I've mispronounced his name before, and I will probably do it in the future. In Groton, South Dakota, he's wondering, in corn, should we be placing our bets about planting speed before or after the week of Monday, April 4th?
Well, I think when you look at it from a planning standpoint, if the question is really do we try and plant pretty aggressively early, which I think it is, I think we're probably better off to plant early. Now, the question mark is going to be, are we going to get that opportunity? You know, so far the planning has not been off to a perfect start, particularly in the Delta and the Southeast. But I think if we plant early, I think you'll see more acres of corn, and you know, that's probably what we're looking at.
Looking out through planting season here, April and May, what have you heard weather-wise? What are we anticipating from NOAA?
Well, from NOAA, if you look at it short term, it looks like we are in just a little bit of a cooler, wetter pattern here at least for the opening days of April. But NOAA also issued, if you get into the summer, they're looking for slightly warmer, but they're still looking for an El Nino-like pattern, which means we may be slightly warmer, but really no real big, huge weather issues, no sustaining heat or no sustaining long, dry patterns. So that's what you have to run with right now. I think you market a crop as if you're going to get a crop, and that's what we look at.
Now, last year we had some concerns in that El Nino pattern about growing degree days. We had cloud cover, we had not a whole lot of super high temperature. Could that be a factor again this year, or is that just looking out way too far right now?
Well, I think it's something that you always look at, but I think, we had a lot of issues last year on with the wet weather. But look at the yield we had, 168.4. So I think the real issue is if we get the crop planted on time and we get decent growing weather, could we have a yield that goes over 170, 171, and then your ending stocks look even bigger. So I think that's both ways, and I think you have to remember the genetics, and look what happened last year with yields in a year that was really not conducive to a big crop.
Right, much less than ideal last year, and still a lot of corn on the ground and everywhere. Before we let you go, Don, we saw crude oil relatively steady on the week, closed up 30-some cents. As we look to next week, next Friday, is crude above or below $40 in your opinion?
I think they say that crude is an overachiever, and I think we're still overproducing. And so I think the crude oil is probably nearing a top, and I would say you have better chances to be under 40 than over 40.
All right. Well, Don Roose, thank you for all of your insight this week.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks to all of you for sending in your questions via Facebook and Twitter. Please continue to do so, and we will get expert analysis right to you. Thanks for watching, and have a great week.